So now you're getting sent to the forward operating base, easy site,
Yeah.
right? Now, could you go into how that went down?
Well, when I got out there, I didn't know what to expect. They said, you go on the easy site, so I got in the truck and went to easy site. It was a long ride, it took all day to get there. And the funny thing is, air miles, it probably was 30 miles away. And I think by road it was about 120. So all these little windy dirt. There were no, in the entire country, that at least the part that I saw of it, once you got outside of Seoul, which Seoul wasn't that big in them days. Seoul is like, 25 million people today. It was 1 million then. And the tallest building in Seoul was about 5 stories. I think it was the Capitol building. Nothing else was, I mean, you looked out, you got up on a mountain and looked out at Seoul, you could see the whole city, and the tallest thing in it was some church steeples sticking up. Most of the buildings didn't have plumbing. Flush toilets were few and far between. It was a very primitive city compared to Seoul of today. And there was blacktop paving in the city, but when you got to the end, I mean, you stepped off the blacktop onto the dirt, and it was dirt for the next 500 miles.
Before you got sent to easy site, did they give you the briefing of what happened to the previous easy site?
No. And I don't know why I didn't, was more interested in that. All they just said the easy site was wiped out, we're building a new easy site. And they probably had already been working on it a couple months by the time I got there. We were still filling sandbags when I got there. Probably took another month to catch up on the sandbags.
Right.
And it was a very relaxed place. I liked it immediately. That we had no officer. We had an old master sergeant was in charge, and he was a very relaxed guy. And each site, when they sent us out, they sent us a printed plan. This is what you will do. You know, you'll put up this many huts, and you will sandbag them. The ones you live in to 3 feet. The operations shack will be a 6-foot wall. And they gave us that plan. And he went over very carefully and said to us, he said, there is no date on this plan, so we will take our time. And we would drive down to the beach and load sandbags, and some days we'd load 100, 200, whatever. And usually if we broke out a sweat, you'd say, that's enough, take them up. And then they sent us a lieutenant, and it's changed our life completely. His first reaction was, why the hell don't you have all the sandbags up, and what have you been doing for the last 3 months or whatever? And he was right. I couldn't argue that. But he says, nobody will go outside the wire till everything is done.
How many guys were at the site?
But well, when he arrived, we were 13. We finally got to a full strength of about 22, I think, later on. Little by little, they'd send us more guys.
Right. So this is 1952, right?
Yeah.
So the major threat would be guerrilla activity?
Actually, we were told when we were building Easy Site that there was a communist guerrilla unit operating in the hills somewhere close to us. We used to, when we felt like it, like on a nice Sunday afternoon, we'd put a patrol together and we'd take a hike. We'd tell the sergeant or lieutenant we were going to patrol the area. And we'd go out 2 miles and look around and stop at some Korean farms and stuff. And if we didn't see anything that looked funny or out of place, we were happy. And
Have a good day, guys.
satisfied that there was nothing going on. Although once somebody cut our wire and got in, we had a squad tent or a supply tent, and we had all our automatic weapons, ammunition, and C rations in that supply tent. And all they took was C rations. And we kind of figured that if these guys were operating there, they were probably starving to death and afraid to come out of the hills. But they were desperate probably and came down and hit us up for a few cases of C rations.
Right.
After that, we put in tripwire and trip flares and all around the perimeter.
Where was the nearest unit that was located by you guys?
On the other side of the hill we were on, there was a radar site. It had about 30 guys. We actually ate with them. They didn't authorize us to cook because we were only a few hundred yards from them, and they were the bigger unit. So they set up a little mess hall, and we ate with them.
Okay.
And we used to drive to K6, which was a Marine Air base. It was Marine Air Group 12. And they had A-1 Skyhawks, which were a big single-engine bomber, and then Corsairs. And that's what they flew out of there.
Okay. 1952. It was pretty much a stalemate at that point, right?
It was the main line of resistance, as near as I could tell. Well, if you were in Seoul at dusk, as soon as the sun went down, the artillery duel started. And I used to look at the horizon and try to imagine how many guns must have been up there on both sides, shooting back and forth at one another, because the whole horizon was light up with a flashing blue light, like you see distant thunder or lightning in the summertime. And the sky would just constantly pulse this blue light all night from almost till dawn. And the artillery sounded like a constant rumble, like thunder. There must have been thousands of guns.
Huh.
And they did that every night. And I don't know what they accomplished by it, because probably everybody was probably so well dug in. But,
right.
And then it was mostly small actions, like we'd capture a hill and they'd take it back the next day, and we'd take another one. And it was pretty much that sort of thing. Interspersed with some major battles. But as we got towards the end of the war, it actually, they stepped it up quite a bit. In the last few months of the war, it really intensified. And they were sort of jockeying for a position. And then we got a message, and I was on duty. I remember decoding it, and it was signed by a general. I wish I would have had the foresight. You don't think of that though when you're young and you don't think this is history. But get this message, and said the Chinese had massed 2 million men in a valley 20 miles north of Seoul. That meant one day's march. And if they hit that line in one spot with 2 million men, there was no way they were taking Seoul. No matter how much stuff we had, they would take Seoul. And that was the idea, that they would take Seoul, and then they would probably negotiate after they captured the South Korean capital again. They'd taken it all, it changed hands I think 3 times. And we got that message, and that was like, and then a pep talk about, we have to stop this. They must have taken, I can only imagine, they must have taken everything they could fly and bombed that valley. And I don't remember, I know it was more than a day, whether it was 48 hours, 72 hours, I don't know. But somewhere, I guess, between 2 and 3 days of continuous bombing. And we had missions as fast as I could copy them. and we would be changing our antenna position like every hour. And evidently they were just throwing everything they could possibly get up there.
Wow.
And the fact that these guys were massed in this valley evidently made them a good target. And actually, they never pulled it off. At the end of this, we got a well done message from the same general, and they estimated 400,000 casualties. And it was maybe another month or so, and then the ceasefire came.
Do you remember that when that came across? The ceasefire?
Vaguely. I don't remember. You know, I probably, again, I probably took the message, but I don't really remember how we reacted. I don't remember whether we, you know, I don't think we jumped up and down and said yay, but
Right.
I'm sure we were relieved